Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and this is the Galaxy Note 5, so the latest and greatest from the big smartphone lineup from Samsung. So with this latest in the Note series, most of the biggest changes and most of the new stuff with this phone is just on the outside. It's with the new design language, the new look of the hardware, and just how different it looks and feels than the last Note. We now have an all metal and glass phone on the outside, so chamfered metal rails on the sides of the phone, antenna bands on the top and the bottom, and curved all glass back. That's both much prettier, but also potentially much uglier when you inevitably get a bunch of fingerprints on it. This thing is a fingerprint magnet. It's available in 4 colors: sapphire bluish, gold, a white, and my personal favorite, the titanium gray, since it shows the least fingerprints. And you're probably noticing it's taken a lot of this design language from its little brother, the Galaxy S6. So sealed back, no removable or expandable anything, thin metal edges to hold onto, and now with its larger size, I think the Galaxy Note 5 takes the crown for the slipperiest phone of all time, both in the hand and in the pocket. I swear it's slipped out of my pocket in cars more than any other phone, and it's like a bar of soap sometimes trying to pick it up. It's crazy. This is definitely one of those phones where you're probably going to want to change the texture on the back to make it easier to hold or to hide fingerprints. So a lot of people might think about buying a case for this phone, but it's already such a big phone that you probably don't want it to be even bigger in the hand. So the easiest way to change the texture, but without adding bulk, would be a skin. I'll leave a link to the skins that I like to use from Dbrand right below that like button. You can pick both the texture and a new color if you want. But yeah, so this is the look of a Samsung flagship now. Shiny, glossy, and ultimately more premium looking. I also like that they kept working on footprint, so the Galaxy Note 5 is actually a bit smaller than the Note 4 thanks to a very thin side bezel. And other things like, the headphone jack placement and the fingerprint sensor and the buttons are all excellent. The buttons, like the Galaxy S6, are super clicky and tactile and satisfying and easy to press. There are definitely still cons to this new design though. One, there's no IR blaster anymore, not sure why. I didn't really use the one on the Note 4 a ton, but it was nice to have. But then 2 and 3, a smaller non-removable battery and no expandable storage. These two things only feel like such a big deal because of the natural comparison to the predecessor, the Galaxy Note 4, which had a larger removable battery and a micro SD card slot. So it kind of feels like you're losing features while moving up a generation. The expandable storage isn't a huge deal to me because I can work with 32 gigs, but if you want to take your music collection offline, or if you take a lot of 4K video, then you'll probably start to fill it up pretty quick. And I'll talk about the battery life more in a bit. The speaker at the bottom, when you're not blocking it, is loud and fairly impressive, but I hold my phone like this, and I sometimes block the speaker, and when I accidentally do, it's actually amazing how much it suffers. Obviously, you'll know immediately when you're blocking it, but it's almost comical how pretty much you can mute the speaker by putting a fingertip over the speaker grill since it's so small. Anyway, on the front of this phone, the Note 5 is rocking a 5.7-inch 2560 by 1440 Super AMOLED display, so an awesome Quad HD resolution, super sharp pixel density, excellent brightness to the point where it's plenty readable outdoors, great viewing angles, really saturated but adjustable colors, and spans pretty much to the edges of the phone with the super thin bezels. It is the best display on any smartphone right now. So if you like screens, then... So having such a great display has always been a strong point for the Galaxy Note, and that's no exception here. And the specs inside push all those pixels just fine. In fact, the Galaxy Note 5 is again a beast in the spec department, bringing up a lot of the top hardware from the Galaxy S6, and it pretty much checks all the boxes. So octa-core Exynos 7420 chip, a bump up to 4 GB of RAM, the 16 megapixel camera from the Galaxy S6 that was so good with optical image stabilization and an f1.9 aperture, NFC, AC Wi-Fi, LTE Advanced, the whole package. The only specs that may look like a downgrade on paper are the move from that weird USB 3 port back to the USB 2.0 on the bottom, and the smaller 3000 mAh battery. It may sound weird to say that a 3000 mAh battery is small, but for such a high-powered device and such a big, bright, high-res display, kinda expected more. My battery life on the Galaxy Note 5 was pretty decent, not great. It was a lot better than the Galaxy S6, which was abysmal, but I would give this, I rated it somewhere between 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time, sometimes more, which to my use for a phone like this is a B. Now, Xiaomi is trying to make up for that non-removable battery with wireless charging, which is much faster than before, and fast charging, which is super awesome on this phone. So if I'm about to head out and I find myself with low battery, I can legit plug in for like 10 minutes and have significantly more power before I head out. Now, obviously, this isn't a 100% solution for a sealed-in battery, but it's a pretty damn good one, and I'm usually around a power source where I can plug in, whether I'm at home or in my car or something. So I am a fan of fast charging. Now, pretty much the rest of this phone is a scaled-up version of the Galaxy S6 experience. It's the latest version of TouchWiz on top of Android 5.1, and it's still a pretty good performer in the same way as the S6. You can grab a theme from the theme store to make it look more or less like stock Android if you want to, and you still have all the Samsung apps pre-installed, stuff like S Health to measure your heart rate and fitness if you want, all the other S apps, S Voice, S Note, and then it has the software features that are unique to the Note. So the multi-window on the larger display is still great. It works with a bunch of apps, still not 100% compatibility, but it is helpful if you want to multitask and get two things done at the same time. And then, of course, you can't forget the stylus, or S Pen. Now, you might be thinking, hey, wait, that's weird. How do I get it out of the phone if it's embedded like this? Well, Samsung built in a clicking mechanism in the pen for getting it out. A side effect, though, of that clicking mechanism being so good, doesn't actually do anything, it's just kind of addicting. Now, every year I give the new Galaxy Note a shot, and with that we get an improved S Pen every time. So I try to give that a shot, but I always just end up using it the same way, which is just like my finger, just like a more precise version of it since the tip is smaller. If you are an avid S Pen user, you will notice stuff like is improved. The menu, when pulling out of the stylus, is updated, and the functionality is improved. Things like the S Memos, you can pin any note to a home screen now, which is pretty dope, something you couldn't do before. And there's also a new feature in ScreenWrite called scroll capture. So if you want to take a screenshot of something that's more than one page, say a multi-page document or a tall web page or something like that, instead of taking multiple screenshots and then having to share them all, you can use scroll capture to merge them all into one huge tall screenshot, which is actually pretty convenient. And my favorite new S Pen feature is the most convenient. When the screen is off, you can pull out the S Pen and immediately start writing on the screen, sort of like taking a pen and a notepad out of your pocket and using it to take a quick note. And then when you put the pen back in, it automatically saves whatever you just wrote, which is very handy for remembering quick things for later. Also, side note, you may have heard about the little problem where if you slide the S Pen in backwards, it breaks. So don't put it in that way. That's what she said. So look, if you can get past the slippery hugeness of this phone, it's pretty hard to go wrong here. My favorite two features are the display and the camera. The display right now, like I said, is the best on any smartphone, and the camera right now is also arguably the best on any available smartphone. Here are some shots I took in my few weeks using the Note 5 as a daily driver. Just casual snaps. Obviously, optical image stabilization and some sharpening in post-production makes for some of the crispiest smartphone photos of all time. Even in low light, I could take handheld shots with a slow shutter speed and still get crispy stuff out of auto mode. It does have a pro mode if you're feeling like digging into it, but for the most part, people use their smartphone cameras in auto, and the Note 5 is great at that. The one other smartphone I think that might come close to the Note 5 in terms of image quality is the LG G4 in manual mode, but the Note 5 does in 2 seconds in auto what could take anyone else 10 seconds fiddling in manual mode. So you gotta hand it to Samsung for that. So yeah, there you have it. That's the Note 5. The sealed back and the smaller battery kind of make it feel less like a power user's dream phone that we had in previous Notes, and more like a bigger version of their already kind of big premium flagship, the Galaxy S6. That's why I'm calling it the Galaxy S6 Plus. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's still a pleasure to use, and an absolute killer on the spec sheet. But yeah, it's just a new, different direction for the Note series. But it's still absolutely the best phone that Samsung makes right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.